Good morning to you all. May I have your attention for the next 20 minutes? My name is Shirley and I want to introduce you to Corporate Verification Program, which is Section 6. I am so happy to do this section with you, but I need you to pay careful attention, as this is a very intensive study, so we will do it in 2 sections. We will start off with Section A. You should all know the definitions of each construct by now, so without anything else ado, let us start with our study. Taking a look at Candidate 1, we find something out of place, and quite suspicious, to say the least, as this candidate has little frustration or stress despite the fact that the candidate has very underactivated job satisfaction, personal satisfaction and he believes he is not treated equally. It would be inconsistent to say the candidate would not be stressed or alternatively, frustrated. The candidate further indicates that the supervisor is ineffective, but he personally has great leadership ability. Yet his supervisor has little leadership ability. This trend continues, as we notice that he claims he has great listening skills, but his supervisor is quite the opposite. The same applies to his communication skills. Competence levels. And finally, reliability. There is overwhelming evidence that the candidate has a serious problem with his supervisor, which ultimately leads to high stress and frustration levels, which would explain his lack of satisfaction and job security. Therefore, when one has a lack of job security, it stands to reason that his inner insecurity has been understated, the same as his stress and frustration. Do we not recall making notes that this candidate was a high risk? As we move on to Candidate 2, I think you must take special note of the candidate's inconsistencies. Unlike Candidate 1, we have slightly overactivated frustration and stress We will not deal with the GBS system in this section, as we are dealing with the corporate functioning effects. Moving on with Candidate 2, we find everything in harmony with each other, and so all is looking good, except there is a hidden snare that we need to be very aware of. One will notice that the candidate's inner insecurity is optimal, and at the same time the job satisfaction and equality are in concert with each other. However, so are all the other constructs. Let us take a good look at them. Effectiveness of supervisor. The candidate's leadership ability. Supervisor's leadership ability. Candidate's listening skills. Supervisor's listening skills. Candidate's communication skills. Supervisor's communication skills. Candidate's competence, in this instance, is not in harmony with the supervisor's competence. We notice that the candidate feels he is more reliable than his supervisor. Although most these constructs are in concert with each other, there should be conflict between the parties. There is no indication suggesting this within this segment. Please take note of these facts and verify the candidate's leadership values to see if in concert with each other. Let us now look at Candidate 3. At the outset, we find that the candidate has a slightly overactivated frustration and stress intensity, which seem to be consistent. he further feels a sense of inner insecurity. Notice the candidate's satisfaction is inconsistent with his job satisfaction. His equality and job security are both seriously out of sync with job satisfaction as well. Please take special notice at the candidate's job security, which is past the clinical cutoff point, meaning that the candidate is becoming irrational in the way he thinks. Due to this clinical cutoff score, the supervisor should be warned that the candidate is capable of irrational behavior, and could be a threat to his supervisor or colleagues. The reality is that the candidate thinks that his supervisor is a proper asshole. Verification of this fact can be clearly seen as indicated. One of the most alarming facts are that the candidate believes he is 92% reliable, which shows us how out of touch with reality he really is. Especially in the light of his own leadership qualities. Taking into account that the difference is between his and the supervisor's reliability, it is certain that the candidate unreasonably believes that the supervisor is a real problem, and therefore he should be removed from his present environment urgently. Let us now look at candidate 4 and see what comes to this party. This candidate is a waste of our time, as he is deliberately trying to deceive us through unrealistic answers. Just watch how many are out of touch with reality. It is absolutely ridiculous, to say the least, having all these scores at 99%. And only having 56% satisfaction and further having only 2% inner insecurity. Throw him out of the equation, as he is really a liar. This brings us to the end of section 6A. You will join Joe in section B of this study. Bye, and thank you for your attention.